Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Trekyards, the most illogical, logical show on YouTube. I'm Captain Foley.
And I'm Connor Coggins, and we are going to go back in time through a wormhole to an alternate universe, and then forward in time through the panels of a comic book to look at starships, spaceships, and everything in between.
That's right. And today's offering is some Vulcan ships, because there's a few mixed in here, but they are from a JJ comic.
The comic is a combination where you see the Enterprise Z, you see so it's a story of Spock, and you get to see Spock in the present or his present, and go back in the past, and these are ships of the JJ verse of the just past the film Vulcan ships. And there's such a whole fleet of them. They do some battle with some Romulans, I believe. And like I said, there are quite a few, and we'll break them down. They also sort of, as they often do, they change between comic strips. Now, just to remind the audience of the ships that were canon, because we'll go first. You obviously had the Vulcan transport ship, which wasn't a Vulcan. It was, it moved Spock from one place to another, but it was a Federation design, or at least, so they had a Vulcan on it, but I think both it wasn't necessarily a Vulcan design. It was just a Federation design. Then you had the Vulcan freighter in TNG, and that was kind of like we'll just throw something together. Well, they did actually have a ring. They understood rings straight away, which is kind of cool. Then you had the lander in the First Contact movie, but that was again a hyper specialist weird one. Then you had the multiple Enterprise variants. You can see them on the screen now from the Dakir and the freighter and the transport and the shuttle and the survey ship and a wide breadth. And that's obviously one of the more fleshed out actually races in Enterprise. Like 5 to 7 ships. So you got a lot. So they had a lot of inspiration to drive from here.
My first thought was these look a lot like, like small, the boats that they use in the swamps of Florida with the big engine on the back. They have that kind of vibe. Looks like something you'd see almost in a G.I. Joe toy line for the smaller ships here. Looks like some kind of craft like that. But overall, they do invoke a feel of Vulcan ships, like we've seen in Enterprise. They got the same color palette. They got the warp ring. A lot of the pointy aesthetics with ears, the pointy ship pieces. And it definitely does feel Vulcan to me.
So there are a couple here. If you look, because the front one is the very long warp ringy one. Then up to its right, just a little bit, you got the command module on the bottom of the ring, and then go left a bit, it's on the top of the ring. So you've got a couple of variants. I'm not sure what difference they would be, but they've made an active attempt to be different. And if you go left of the one above the main front ship, it looks as if there are some of these ships that do have splits in the rings. It's actually 2 individual ones. And that just might just be an optical illusion. But I'm maybe the ones with the lower slung. But yeah, I mean, this is definitely a designer that said, right, what have we got that exists? And let's do our own thing with it. Now, they're really only adding one thing to the party, which is the, gold with blue, weird pointy front bits with a lot of very very Klingon sort of structural pylon stuff. I mean, you look at this front ship, you can see where the main hull ends, but the pointy girders continue, and you're like, what could possibly the point be of that? What would be the logical point? Well, yeah.
Point. It could just be to help with the warp field geometry, to extend it a little bit further, to maybe get some kind of more aerodynamic warp bubble feel thing going. I don't know.
Sure, but then why wouldn't you finish? Why wouldn't you continue the gold and blue bit?
Because it's not logical. Why do you need to? Why do you need to? It can end there. It's fine. There's no sense.
It's true.
It's a logical waste of resources and time.
I mean, what do you think of the 3 designs aesthetically?
Overall, they work, but as I said, it looks too much like a boat plane or whatever the hell they're called. Going to the next picture, you can see the same ships, but from a little bit different angle. And yeah, I think there is a split in at least some of the warp rings, or it could just be the way they're drawn. I think it's the way they're drawn, actually.
It could be either, honestly.
Yeah. Because we've seen ships with split rings for Vulcans before, so yeah.
I mean, that'd be kind of cool if most of these are lower slung primary hulls, and there are two pylons that connect it. It'd be kind of cool if they actually like moved out and split the ring, and so different warp field like together is a longer distance slower, apart or whatever, and apart is a different configuration. That'd be kind of fun. Be an interesting thought process. I would actually, I mean, because there is clearly on two of the bottom ones a split. You can see space in between them. I mean, you know what I mean? That's kind of the vibe I get, which would be cool, actually, because you can imagine they could even, like, go straight out and be even further. It would change the vibe. But I actually quite like that idea. What do you think?
I do too. I think it would be very, very neat. But if you go to the next picture, you see that there is no splits in any of the rings. Yeah, and it's weird because the way they have that top part done with the gold and the blue almost looks like windows, which makes the ships look rather small. I don't think that's the case at all. They're supposed to be a lot, like, very large.
Kind of like an epic skylight, which is like 20 meters in although this is the problem with comics. I mean, obviously the front two, they don't even match. You know, the left one has all the detail, and the right one missing the blue, and then the first is to go back, now they're missing the blue, and then it's just missing the red, and it's kind of like, wow, they really didn't do. But you can see the girders even more clearly, and it feels really it feels very basic. Like, okay, if these were proto Vulcan, like these are their first ships, that I would be interested in. So kind of similar, but less. Because I could kind of buy that, you know, they were less. You imagine that they were less and less logical as the culture got more and more steeped in that ethos. These are more of the baseline, and they got simpler and simpler as time went on into more just hard shapes because it's just simple and efficient. And
They do look more primitive just because of the girder look. I mean, once you get to Enterprise, they have such smooth hulls, which, as Matt Jeffries said with the Enterprise, indicated very advanced tech because you didn't need the greeblies on the outside. You know, everything can be accessed inside the ship. This does look a little bit more primitive, so I like the idea that these could be older designs.
I mean, obviously they're not though, which is a shame. Design-wise, these aren't necessarily designed. Well, these clearly are designed, which is weird. They've been designed to look like they are. They don't look TOS. I wouldn't call these TOS Vulcan ships. And since the split on the timeline is just before this, they should be exactly TOS or pre-TOS. So it's kind of stretching my ability to suspend disbelief. But at least they do look about right. So I give them all the credit in the world for at least trying. They just didn't succeed fully. But I mean, okay, well, compare it to then the, as you knew I was going to compare to, the Discovery style of Vulcan ship. Which one is better in your opinion?
These, hands down. I don't like any of the Vulcan designs that I've seen in Discovery, really.
Well, I mean, cut to the next picture. I mean, the big ones are clearly the big ones, and they certainly stand out. And the windows are much more thin and relatable. Although now they don't even match between the top left, top right, and bottom ones.
And the longer ones, honestly, they look like back when I was a kid. I got these, like, you get these plastic like long fingernails for Halloween. And you know what I mean, where the ring goes around your finger, and then it's exactly what it looks like. They look Vulcan enough, and for something that's in the JJ verse, I mean, it's pretty much as good as we're gonna get. Not designed, obviously, by Ryan Church or J.J. Abrams didn't have anything to do with this necessarily. So this is just all on the artist.
And there's two more views which are very similar, but across the next view, you kind of get a slight more sense of this front girdery element. And again, it's just a total lack of, like, I'd love to have them explain that. I don't think they even could.
Just looks cool. Negative space cutouts,
I think the small ones work a lot better than the long one, proportionally. And if you go to the next picture, you can see, I think for the most part, I mean, I would change them maybe 25% to get them really kind of there. I think there's a lot of potential here. If you kept the basic shape, remove the girders, keep the gold, because the gold's quite cool, remove the blue, give a bridge module, because some of them have bridge modules-ish, add a front which is more organic and smooth, like other Vulcan ships are, add some windows to the sides, maybe with some little fins, to kind of match the big decor and some other ones, like little kind of like slightly pointy out things, just because. Make the warp ring a bit more cannon-y. You don't need as many pylons.
No, I kind of agree with all those changes, actually. All right. Well, I think that's our look at these. There's not much else to say about them, really. There are quite a few in the shot, but I mean, hey, it's cool. What do you guys think of this design? Does it work for you guys as a Vulcan design? Please put your comments down below. And don't forget, if you want to support the channel, you can do so. You can head over to Patreon. The links for all that stuff is in the description. Patreon is our monthly subscription service that helps us out a bunch. So for like less than the price of a cup of coffee, you know, if you put in $5 a month, you won't even miss that. But it makes a big deal to us, and it really helps us out. Plus, there's other ways, PayPal, a whole bunch of links down below in the description of every video. And don't forget our lives, because we do a couple lives every week. You get to interact with us and the rest of the community and be part of the Trekyards, you know, become part of Trekyards history, because they're all online for you guys to watch later. So your comments will be there. You'll be able to see them and feel like you're part of the team, if you will. And a great way to help us out there is super chat. So
it is super.
It is, and
we will chat.
And you're chatting, yeah, exactly, right? Again.
But if you want to know when those super chat lives are, you should of course subscribe to this channel. YouTube's a bit of a funny one these days with not supporting content creators that aren't massive. Weird. But you know, we're a humble small channel looking at cool things with designers and such, so please do subscribe to the channel. It makes a big difference. Like videos if you actually like them, share them on Facebook or Twitter or such if you double like them, and of course just check in. We do our lives regularly. We don't have about 5 hours of lead up for scheduling, so you know when they are. They're at 10 p.m. almost every single time, 10 p.m. GMT and then 5 p.m. Eastern. Pretty regularly, so do check in and be part of the community. Like I said, those are the free ways to help, just by being there, because at the end of the day we'd rather have a 500 person chat, has a really good conversation, really good thoughts, and 10 super chats than 100 super chats and 5 people. So be part of the community.
That's right. So until next time, guys, I'm Captain Foley.
I'm Quadragongs.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.